Good evening, Tansei Anine. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. Tuesday was day one of the Assembly of First Nations summer meeting in Halifax. As expected, recently deposed National Chief RoseAnne Archibald was on the minds of many in attendance. Some First Nations leaders wanted to move on, while others believe the former National Chief has been dealt with unjustly. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
It was recently appointed new interim National Chief Joanna Bernard's first words to the AFN Assembly, and she said it was time to restore credibility to the organization.
As interim National Chief, my focus remains on working forward with our current priorities, restoring confidence in our organization by ensuring that the voices of First Nations are heard and respected by all. We must address recent changes head on by taking responsibility for our shortcomings and working towards rebuilding staff morale, confidence, and trust.
But speaking via video as a proxy voter, the former national leader warned those in attendance not to fall prey to what she called a special agenda.
And to have a process where we can discuss in a good way how the AFN has gone off the rails, you know, and how we can get it back on track is really very, very concerning. That, you know, these pre-selected chiefs are actually pushing an agenda of the regional chiefs, and the chiefs are being left out of this.
Last month, Archibald was voted out as national leader in a special chiefs virtual meeting. The vote came in the wake of an external human resources investigation of dealing with allegations of harassment against her by former staffers. Former Algonquins of Pikwakanagan Chief Wendy Jocko thinks Archibald has been dealt with unfairly.
I certainly was a strong supporter of the National Chief RoseAnne Archibald. We did nominate her, and many chiefs, as you know, did vote her in. So I was certainly a little bit disappointed to find out of the latest deposing of the National Chief. It came as a shock, considering we went through this scenario last year at this very time out in Vancouver.
But Kitigan-Zibi Anishinabeg Chief Dylan Whiteduck says he believes the organization was in danger if it didn't sack Archibald.
I did support the National Chief when she was elected in 2021. It's just time to move on. We have very intelligent people across Canada. Many First Nations people could step up. Many female First Nations could step to the role. But it was just time to move on. There was mention of railroading. We were at a stage where the whole organization was about to be railroaded.
Some leaders at the Assembly tried to pass a motion to amend the agenda to include a resolution to restore Archibald as National Chief, but the motion was defeated and the agenda adopted. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax.
Later in the day, Archibald, who was acting as a proxy for Hornpain First Nation, was evicted from the conference. Here is some of what happened.
How I'm being treated is absolutely disrespectful. So don't talk about the 7 sacred teachings and respect and turn around and do what you have done to me in a public space, lateral violence, and talk about respect. So let's be clear about that. That, you know, I said this earlier, Chiefs, you need to look in your hearts. You know, what is being triggered in your heart? It's hatred. It's resentment. It's based on lies. It's based on gossip. It's based on innuendo. You know, you haven't read the full report of this HR report. You haven't read it. You don't know what it says. But somehow, a bunch of regional chiefs who are now, a whole bunch of them are running for national chief. And one of them, the most vocal from last year, is the interim national chief. The other vocal one got appointed to the Senate. But I want to tell you, that hatred in your heart, you have to let it go.
Now, following Archibald's speech, the chairs of the AFN AGA came to unanimous decision to refuse to allow the former national chief to participate in the meeting any longer. And an update now on the blockade at a Winnipeg area landfill site. The city of Winnipeg has filed for an injunction stating it is concerned about environmental, health and safety and financial risks. We'll bring you more on this story tomorrow. And the Manitoba government recently announced it is spending millions to combat the rising crime rates in downtown Winnipeg. That includes more police officers monitoring the streets. But some grassroots organizations say more police might cause more harm than good. Tamara Pimentel has that story.
Winnipeg is a place that we should feel proud of, one that we show off to others when they visit our beautiful province.
$10 million will bring an additional 24 officers to downtown while equipped with bikes and ATVs. There will be more lighting and security cameras that will be monitored as well. At a press conference, Manitoba's Premier Heather Stephenson says rising crime rates are making Winnipeggers feel unsafe and says the funds will bring a secure environment to those living, working, and visiting downtown.
Whether it's for concerts, sports games, or to visit a local shop, residents and visitors to our city should be able to enjoy all that Winnipeg has to offer. I've said it before and I'll say it again, enough is enough. Let's defend our police officers, not defund them.
People who live and have experience of criminalization know that police are not the solution to violence. They're, in fact, part of the problem.
But Leon Laidlaw with Winnipeg Police Cause Harm says more police funding will never lead to community safety for the city's most vulnerable, many of which are Indigenous. According to the most recent report from Winnipeg Police, Winnipeg's overall crime rate has increased over 25% since the previous report. Laidlaw says those fundings can go toward grassroots organizations that focus on root causes of violence.
Money being directed to nonviolent crisis response, mental health services in our communities, substance programs, harm reduction services. These are what the community is asking for because they're doing the work. We see the biggest violent crime here is that the settler government is expanding these resources of a deeply racist and colonial system while failing to provide communities, and particularly Indigenous communities in downtown Winnipeg, the resources to live.
Winnipeg Police will phase in the additional officers as more are recruited in the fall and early 2024. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
All right, we have to take a short break. We still have plenty more news to come, so stay with us. Welcome back to APTN National News. The Quebec government has kicked in funding to repair one of the oldest churches in eastern Canada. It just so happens to be on Mohawk territory. Some community members say it's important to preserve a historic community mainstay, but as Amelia Fournier reports, others say it's a monument to the harms done by the Catholic Church.
Aguasasne St. Regis Catholic Church has been standing since 1752. Without these major repairs, this steeple would have crumbled.
Our altar is very special. So our Mohawk clans are the deer, the wolf, the turtle, the bear, and the snipe.
Aguasasne resident RoseAnne McDonald says the church is a community cornerstone for weddings, funerals, and gatherings. And that it's come a long way in terms of incorporating Mohawk cultural practice.
Every other Sunday, they sing them all in Mohawk. All the prayers are sung in Mohawk, and so it's very helpful because I don't speak Mohawk myself.
McDonald is a lay minister, meaning it's her job to help the church run smoothly. She helped raise around $200,000 for repairs, and the Mohawk Council of Aguasasne approached the Quebec government to fund the rest.
The parishioners brought forward a proposal and asked us to support it, so we done that. As any community group comes to the Mohawk Council of Aguasasne, whether it be a church, an organization, a quilt club, or what have you, we always look for ways to support them.
The Quebec government visited Aguasasne mid-June to present $115,000 in funding, an example of solidarity, according to the church's pastor, Father Jerome Pastoris, originally from the Philippines.
When you say church is the people, so the fact that they are reaching out to the community, it's very, very touching for me, because people are still talking about the residential school. For the government to come here, wow. When everybody's talking about reconciliation, that's it. That is what reconciliation is.
Not everyone in Aguasasne feels that way, especially on social media. Demolish this place, reads one comment. A symbol of genocide and theft, get rid of it, according to another. Robert Smith, a survivor of the St. Regis Day School in Aguasasne, believes that money could be better spent elsewhere.
$115,000 would go a lot into the traditional programs and programs to educate our youth on who we are, not who somebody wants us to be.
Smith says he's still healing from the pain caused by Catholic teachings.
I've traveled around and I've gone in other Catholic churches. And sometimes when I listen, it's like a message of we can dominate, we can take over, we can do, and that's still there today.
Advocates and survivors called for the doctrine of discovery to be rescinded, and the Catholic Church only recently repudiated it. While Smith says he bears no ill will to Mohawks of the Catholic faith, he says that the Quebec government's decision to fund the church is a continuation of colonialism.
They work together, the government and the religion, the Catholic religion, they work together. Okay, so that's an investment in their, you know, you go right down to the Papal Bull. That all ties in. The initiative of them being set sail to come over, you can destroy whoever you want. You can kill whoever you want because they're not, what do you call it? They're not Christians, so it's not a sin.
McDonald said that despite the damage of Catholic-run schools, she remains faithful.
There was an elder that told our bishop that the people that did those things weren't God, they weren't the church, you know, they were humans, you know, humans with flaws and faults and big ones, but it wasn't God, you know, and so our people have been still very faithful to the church.
Emilia Fournier, APTN National News, Aguasasne, Mohawk Territory.
A First Nation in the Yukon is taking issue with how a remediation company is managing an abandoned mine site, and it's asking the Yukon Water Board to intervene. As Sarah Connors tells us, there's serious concerns the remediation company in question isn't making things better, but making them worse.
As Little Salmon Carmack's First Nation chief Nicole Tom gazes towards Mount Nansen, she's reminded of her people's spiritual connection to the earth. Located around 45 kilometers west of Carmack's, the area is a special place for hunting, fishing, and gathering.
I think that it's referred to as like a healing place.
But the area is also the site of a contaminated abandoned mine site. In 2021, a joint venture between Insero Solutions and JDS Energy and Mining took control of the site's care and maintenance and remediation from Yukon government. But according to the First Nation, that partnership is only making things worse. While the First Nation declined to go into detail, an application submitted to Yukon's Water Board lists numerous concerns. It claims there are known to be over 24 contaminants of concern at and around the site, but the sole water treatment plant is only treating for 5 of them. It also asserts the partnership has consistently breached its water license. But according to the partnership, they took over an interim water license approved by Yukon government and other parties. That included building a water treatment plant that met the standards of that license before work started at the site.
Insero CEO says water quality coming from the site is improving thanks to the water treatment plant.
We built the treatment plant that was required by the license that we were given, and we've maintained compliance 100% with that.
He says once a full plan for the site is in place, he's hopeful the First Nations concerns will be addressed.
Our intention is to do the very best job we can.
They inherited a mess.
The Yukon Conservation Society says any contaminated mine site is complicated to clean.
The Mount Nansen remediation project, they're basically just doing care and maintenance. They're trying to keep things as it is, and I would argue they're not doing a very good job. We're not even close to closure and remediation. We're only doing care and maintenance. So the longer and longer we wait, the worse it's going to get.
The First Nation is seeking amendments to the water license, an oral hearing, and compensation for loss and damages. As for Chief Tom, she's hopeful for a resolution that will allow her people to one day use the land as intended in their Aboriginal and treaty rights.
Well, my hope is for clean water. We want the animals and the berries and the medicine and our citizens to be able to access that site and harvest, and in order for that to happen, the water has to be clean.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Carmax.
All right, it's time we step aside shortly one final time. A look at a few of the athletes headed to NAG is coming up. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Summertime means powwow season. Regular contributor Greg Scriver shared a picture from this past weekend at the Echoes of Proud Nations powwow in his home community of Ganawage, Quebec. Thank you so much for sharing that one, Greg. And if you want to be featured as our photo of the day, you can email your pictures to share@aptn.ca, or you can also tag APTN News on Instagram. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. We begin on the East Coast, 15 in St. John's and 20 in rain in Halifax. 26 degrees in Cartwright and 21 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. 25 degrees in showers in Quebec City and 25 in showers in St. Jovite. 23 in rain in Toronto and 22 in clear in Sault Ste. Marie. 22 degrees in Thunder Bay and 24 in showers in Sioux Lookout. In northern Manitoba, 12 degrees in Churchill and with rain and 21 in Thompson. 23 in a mix of sun and cloud in Barons River and 23 in rain in Winnipeg. More rain and 22 in Regina and 23 in Saskatoon. 23 in Buffalo Narrows and 26 in Uranium City. As we continue west, a clear and 26 in Fort Chipewyan and 21 in rain in Peace River. More showers and 23 in Edmonton and showers and 21 in Calgary. Rain and 21 in Vancouver and 28 in clear in Bella Coola. 27 degrees in clear in Smithers and 24 in Dease Lake. 24 in some showers in Whitehorse and 20 in showers in Rock River. 30 degrees in Norman Wells and 28 in Yellowknife. 23 in Fort McPherson and 27 in Colville Lake. 16 degrees in Cambridge Bay and showers in 11 in Whale Cove. 9 degrees in Arctic Bay and 8 in Iqaluit. And to British Columbia now, where a young woman is making her dreams come true by representing her nation at the upcoming North American Indigenous Games in Halifax. APTN's Tina House has this story.
One kick at a time, Gracie Gutierrez, Charlie, is determined to make her dreams come true.
So it's really exciting and it feels like a full circle moment because I've been kind of like dreaming about it especially since I watched my cousin who participated in the 2017 for soccer as well. So it's just like unreal to be able to go and, I don't know, kind of do the same thing that they did.
The 18-year-old from the Chihuahuas, Tehalas, and Moose Cree First Nations is playing for Team BC in soccer and will be joining her fellow teammates in Halifax next week to compete. She has been working hard physically to prepare, but says there's more to it than that.
Some of it is physical, so I have been like training and trying to like keep up with my running and keep myself in good health a lot. But I think a large piece of it is also the mentality of it, because like I always say, the mental game sort of is just as important as your physical game when it comes to soccer especially. So just keeping a really strong heart and strong mind.
And with more than 5,000 young Indigenous athletes from across North America converging next week in Halifax, the competition is going to be tough. But with a strong support from her community and family, Gracie says she is confident. Chief Laura Muscle Savage is the former chef de mission for Team BC, but she is now the director of sport. She says it's athletes like Gracie that really make NAG an important and magical time for youth.
The youth aspect of these games is the most inspiring part, is seeing the glimmer of hope and belief and perseverance and dedication and all of this hard work that they're putting in coming to fruition out on the field of play is super inspirational and exciting. So these games mean a lot.
And for Gracie, she wants to encourage other kids to focus on sports and not be distracted by bad influences.
I'd say just shut out the voices in your head that maybe make you feel insecure or like you can't do it, because a sport truly gives you a sense of belonging and team and family that I feel like nothing else can really give you. Just that pure sort of like straight up love for the game. I mean, I think that that's a great thing, and if you can find that, it'll help you overcome things that you never thought you could.
Tina House, APTN National News, Chilliwack.
16-year-old twins from Atakakoop First Nation in Saskatchewan are also getting ready to head to the North American Indigenous Games. Mikkel and Michael Bird will be competing in two different sports in Halifax, Mikkel in basketball and Michael in track. The twins, who will be going into grade 11 in the fall, thank their dad for his dedication to getting them into sports. They say sports has kept them busy, motivated, and on the right track.
Well, it was just like our dad putting us in sports when we were younger, and just trying new sports. Just the way just to be out of trouble and stuff. And how we got into NAG was, well, obviously tryouts. He had basketball tryouts. He made the team. For me, I went to the Aboriginal Track and Field Championships. It mostly takes you out of trouble, and especially there's a lot of kids like our age that especially First Nations, Indigenous people, they'll drink, they'll party, they'll do anything that goes stuff into you. And to me, I like me and my brother, we never drank before in our lives or smoked weed or did anything. And sports just kept us out of trouble.
Well, it's great to see some of the stories of the athletes headed to NAG, and of course, we'll have plenty more leading up to the games and throughout the games as well. And with that, that is all we have for you this evening on APTN National News. For all of us here, thank you so much for joining us. Miigwech, and have a wonderful evening.